When owners and dogs get stuck in this loop of miscommunication, it often leads to frustration on both ends. Owners are at their wits' end because they're trying to communicate what they need from their dogs, and their dogs are at their wits' end because they don't understand what the owner's asking. In this episode of Dogs Decoded, we're going to watch Cesar Millan help this family as they deal with a very dominant, aggressive dog. She's got all kinds of bad habits, from leg humping to biting people and children and other dogs. So she's got all kinds of behavior issues here. But I think what's really important is that we break this down. I can help you understand why Cesar's methods work, and the importance of timing. Now, before we get too much further, I've done some homework here. What I've done is I've created if you've watched any of my other videos, you've probably heard me using my scale of 0 to 5 for dogs. So I've made a quick little visual. I'm going to play that here because I actually recorded it so I can explain it. I want to play it here and have you guys fully see what I'm talking about with that, so that way, as we watch Cesar Millan work with his family, we can start referencing my scale, and I'm going to be asking you questions to see where you think the dog is based on my scale, so that you can start identifying these things with your own dog. You'll be able to start seeing the signals and knowing when the dogs are escalating. So I'm going to stop right here. We're going to play the other video, and then we're going to get into this episode of Cesar Millan. So just stick with me. So I just want to explain my scale. This is a scale that I use when I'm assessing dogs when I go to a client's place. So 0, level 0, they're sleeping, they're out cold, not a problem. Level 1, they're resting, they're awake, they're kind of watching what's going on. Maybe they're doing a gentle pant. Nothing, no, they're not participating. They're not following us around. They're not doing any of that. They're just laying there watching. Level 2, now they're walking around, they're sniffing, they're panting, they're playing with toys respectfully. They're still not getting in our way. They're not bugging anyone. They're with us, being part of the family. Level 3, now they're starting to get excited. Okay, so now we're getting more of a fast tail wag, bodies wagging. Maybe they're whining. They're attention seeking. They're taking, if you've got a dog that likes toys, he's bringing those toys. He's squeaking them really loud, or he's bringing them to you and demanding your attention, and he's unable to settle at this point. So you give him a command to go lay down or go settle down, and he just can't. Level 4, now we get into more severe problems. Right now they're jumping, maybe they're pulling on the leash, they're digging, they're chewing on objects that are on the floor, the furniture, they're starting to bark. And keep in mind that they can still do all of these other things in these other levels, right? Like, you might still get whining and attention seeking, but this just means that there's more stuff going on. So they're escalating up to almost an unmanageable point now. Level 5 is where we start really seeing major problems, which is, they're destroying your furniture, your house. There's heavy panting sometimes, there's excessive barking. When you walk, they're scanning for threats. It's growling, snarling, fighting, and possibly fighting with a sibling, another dog in the house, or just overall being a little mischief maker. So that's a very simplified way to look at when I say a dog's at a 2 or a dog's at a 4. This is what I'm talking about right here. Okay, so our goal as the owners or as handlers, we want to keep our dogs between a 0 and a 2. That's the perfect zone, right? If we're out walking, we're taking them for a walk, maybe we're throwing the ball for them, they can start to get into, a 3 a little bit, but we really do want to keep, every time we start seeing our dogs start to get a little bit more excited, we want to ask ourselves, okay, what level are they at? We want to try to keep them at that level. So as soon as we start seeing them rise up, we say, knock it off and settle them back down. It's a lot easier to keep our dogs at a level 2 and correct them just as they get to a level 3 than it is to wait for our dogs to get to a level 5 and then try to get them to a level 1. It just doesn't happen. They're just too far gone at that point. All right, so now that we watched the video together, let's get into it. We're going to turn on Cesar Millan's episode here. This is called Nightmare Dog Won't Listen to the Owners. So let's get into it here.
Just tell her to get out of there.
Bosh, come on. Push. Come on. Off the bed.
All right. Right away. Where do you guys think this dog is? Now that you've seen the scale, where do you guys think this dog is right now? I'm going to say probably a 3. No, definitely not a 1, not a 2. She's up there at a 3, right? She's excited. She's attention seeking. She's not wanting to settle. She's already animated, right? So she's not at that 1. She's definitely not, she's not at 0. She's not asleep. She's not at 1. She's not just casually observing. She's in this family's space. Okay. Now, what I want you to notice here is watch how soft the owner is, right? When he's trying to get her off the bed, he's being very gentle. His energy is not even close to matching the dog's. In fact, he's very soft and very meek, and she's just bulldozing right over him.
Push. Come on. Push.
You hear that growl? Like, she is 100% feels that she's the dominant one here. She feels that anything that he's doing is just noise to her. She's not registering him as being the pack leader or authoritative. In dog language, right? If one dog wants another dog to move out of the space, they bare their teeth. They come in quite, not always loud, but very powerful. Their chest pump up and they come right up into the dog's space. In this case, he's going, come on, move, come on, move. And she's just like, what? Go away, leave me alone. Like, she's like a spoiled teenager right now. Like, she's just not listening to the parents one little bit, right?
She's not taking you serious, huh?
No.
And you see how she jumped right back up. We all knew that, right? She was going to jump back up on the bed. She went right in between the two owners. She got right comfortable. She leaned right down on the pillow as if to say, okay, that was fun. What's next, right? So now Cesar's going to move in, and Cesar is going to show the owners how to get her off the bed, and I'll play the clip, and then I'll say my bit after.
Now, choke chain all the way in the top. It's easy access.
Okay, sorry. Before we do that, I just want to stop here. I am going to put a quick little graphic in here. I got busy. I decided to make a few graphics here. So I'm going to enter another one in here, and I'm going to hit play so that you guys can watch it. And what this is me talking about the communication zone. I will play that, and here we go. Very often you'll hear me talk about, the leash is too low, the leash keeps falling, or the owner's using the pinch collar in the wrong place, or the whatever this collar. It doesn't matter what collar, whether it's a slip leash, a choke chain, a flat collar, a prong collar. It really doesn't matter, okay? Here's the difference. If the collar is in what I call the communication zone, which is up here where the blue is, I've labeled it communication zone right here. This is where we want our collars to be. As soon as they start to migrate down, the further down they get towards this red zone here, the less control you're going to have, the less communication you're going to be able to have with your dog. It's just, and this is what happens. As you're walking, this collar will just naturally start to migrate down. That's normal. Our job is to just get in the habit of very gently reaching up and repositioning it. That's all there is to it. What I tend to see is the collars way down here. Usually they're just kind of sitting along this, almost the shoulder bone here. But what we don't want is here. Okay, there's no communication here for us. The dogs are not going to hear. And in fact, the further this goes down, the closer it gets to the shoulder, the more power a dog has.
This is good. I want this. That's a protest. There we go. Now I'm going to clean a bit.
You notice how this time she's still protesting, but she's whining. When the owner was doing it, she was growling, grr, 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 Get the heck away from me. I don't want you near me. She really just reminds me of my teenage daughter. Just stop talking to me, right? But when Cesar gets in, Cesar moves in, she feels that authority right away. His chest is out, his hands out, he's pointing to her, he's saying enough, and he's blocking her. Every opportunity that she tries to take to get up on the bed, he's there blocking her. And she knows she can't growl, so she's going to try whining to see if maybe that will make people feel bad for her and let her back up on the bed. And notice the lipping again. Notice the dog's lip licking. This is something that dogs do when they're trying to calm themselves down. So she's trying to process everything. She's very animated and excited, and so she starts licking her lips, and that's just her trying to self-soothe, kind of calm herself down.
The whiny thing is part of a protest. It's not that she's crying, so don't take it, oh my God, then I'm hurting my dog. No, it's part of a protest. If you stop, if you hesitate, when she's giving you the cry, she learned to manipulate you by crying. Well, that's that. See, she's right there laying down.
You notice how she's just, once she realized that, okay, the gig's up, I'm not getting back up on the bed, she just went and laid down. She didn't freak out. She didn't go and destroy anything. She didn't do any of that. She just said, okay, well, this is the new rule. Believe it or not, dogs, they love structure. They love rules. They like to know where they stand. And so once she knew that, okay, well, right now I'm not allowed up on the bed, she said, all right, I'll get comfortable beside the bed, which is what we wanted.
So let's do it again. Come. Good.
She's much more respectful that time. If we go back to my scale and you look, how was her approach this time when she jumped up on the bed? She's still wagging her tail, but she's a lot calmer. You notice her ears are down, her head's starting to lower, her body position is softer. She's not quite as, oh, this is my bed, but she's quite happy to be allowed back up. This is what we want. I have no problem with allowing our dogs on our beds. That's not the problem. The problem becomes when we allow our dogs on our bed when they're in an excited state or when they're in a dominant state. That's not allowed. That was a million times better. So the owner was still pretty soft, but he was matching the dog's energy at that point. The dog wasn't being overly assertive or dominant at that point. So there was really no need for him to come in as powerful that time. He still had to come in with authority, and he did. He reached in, he said, off, and just gently led her. And look at how easy she went that time.
Then when she comes back, so it's not a lot of words, but it's a lot of communication going on here. You don't have to say it. You just have to project it.
I shouldn't laugh, but it's just her face right now. It's priceless. You can actually see her looking at her owners and looking at Cesar, and I could just, in my head, I have this whole dialogue going on. She's like, what are you telling it? Don't listen to him. Don't. I love dogs. They're awesome.
Before they head outside, Cesar puts a special collar on Pasha, which will allow Gala and Bradley to have more control while on the walk.
This collar.
I have to say, if any of my viewers have actually used this collar, can you let me know if it works? I don't know. I've seen Cesar kind of went through a phase there where he was using them all the time, and I noticed in his more recent videos he's not using them anymore, so I don't know if he's just stopped using them or if they're not as effective. I've never actually seen one, like I've never worked with one, so if you have used one and you have feedback on it, please let me know. I would really appreciate it.
Collar is special because it stays all the way in the top and you don't have to rearrange yourself over and over. The collar will stay in that position, and that gives you access to control the dog from the most sensitive part of the neck.
So like the video I quickly showed there with the communication zone and then the choke zone down below, that's what he's referring to here.
So first you control here.
I show her the whole process of opening door, how you start, the position of the leash, to create how you want the walk to look like. Even
I like that he is explaining it, but I don't feel like he's really getting into it enough here. So I'm just going to stop right here. I want to explain this. Going back to my chart again. When we're going to walk our dogs, we want to make sure that we set them up for success. And we do that by having them calm, so a level 1.5, 2, right? Before that door ever opens. We need to teach our dogs that a leash means calm. An open door means calm. Putting on our shoes means calm. Right now, what's probably happening is you go to pick up that leash and the dog explodes and gets excited, or you go to put your shoes on or pick up the car keys. That's because your dog studied you its whole life. It knows what the routine is. So what we need to do is change the picture for the dog and let them associate the keys and the leash and the shoes or whatever with calmness, because that will set the dog up to be successful right from the go. As soon as you go to head for that door, your dog needs to sit. It needs to let out a nice big sigh, relax. Only then do you open the door. And even then, when you open the door, the dog has to wait for you to invite it through. It should never, ever, 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 ever walk through that door before you. The moment you allow your dog to pull you through the door, they are immediately setting you up as the follower and they're the leader. And that's just going to cause problems right off the bat.
There we go. See, this is the normal thing.
You'll see this a lot when you put either a halty collar on, sometimes a muzzle, or in this case, the collar way up here. The dogs panic for a minute because you're, for the first time in probably their whole lives, you're actually communicating in that zone that they feel the correction right away. So their instinct is to kind of freak out. And here's what happens. The owner, as soon as the dog freaks out, the owner either get scared that they've hurt the dog, or they get embarrassed because people are watching, and so they give in. And what happens is, as soon as you give in, when your dog does that, it learns that, oh, if I roll or I lay down or start screaming at the top of my lungs, I'm going to get what I want, which is the release. So you need to follow through and just carry on with what you were doing. Don't even acknowledge it. Just come on, let's go, and just keep going. As soon as you give into it, that teaches the dog that this is what I need to do to release that pressure.
Make her become powerful from it. And after
so she's definitely at like a 2.5 on my scale right now. I was supposed to ask you, that was my, what level do you think she's at right now? She's definitely at like a 2.5 right now. And you can see Cesar's giving her corrections. That's because our job when we're walking is to keep our dogs at a 2. That's kind of the magic sauce. If we can keep our dogs at a 2, they're walking quietly beside us. They're happy. They're wagging their tail. They're panting. They're enjoying it. But they're not jumping, they're not pulling, they're not lunging, they're not scanning around looking for targets. They're just with us. That's where we want them. So if you notice, every time she goes to pull or look back, Cesar's giving her a correction. That's why, because he's saying, be with me right now. Just focus on me. Don't worry about anything else.
keep your arm relaxed. That's right.
Very often when owners are walking and they're nervous, they hold the leash too tightly. And when we hold our leash too tight, whether it's a short leash or a long leash, if we're reefing on that leash, the dog never gets a release of that pressure. So they don't at any point know when they're being corrected or when they're not being corrected. As far as they're concerned, there's just constant pressure on the leash. The other problem is that we tend to, as we get anxious, we hold that leash tighter. That anxiety, that anxiousness that we're feeling travels right down the leash into the dog, and it triggers the dog to be in a state of defensiveness. They're scanning now. They feel that their owner is weak, or their human is weak, and that they have to protect their human. And so it's all done through the leash. So what Cesar's doing is saying, just relax your arm. This is a great time to just think of something more fun. Don't even think about walking your dog right now. You just want to just walk ahead, relax that arm, and think of, I don't know, cute little puppy dogs or something happy.
And then, of course, Miss Pasha made a decision to throw a temper tantrum. There we go.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Nothing bad happened to that dog right there. That was just her testing. Now it's the owner leading the dogs. So she's going to throw a few punches and see, well, because in the past, if she had a temper tantrum, she won. So she's going to see if she can get that from her owner. It doesn't last very long, but it is interesting to note that she didn't, she did it with Cesar and then she gave up right away. Now she's going to try it with the owner. She'll probably try it with the husband too, right? She's going to try it with every human that walks her right now until she realizes that, one, that this isn't hurting me. I'm still having fun and I can still be connected to my human without being pulled and jabbed and, yanked on. So yeah, she'll get there.
Yeah, it's not. No. There we go. Let me see. Let me have it.
Notice how she was grabbing onto her owner and like almost trying to hold her owner. That's that dominant part of her coming back. She's trying to pull at the owner's heartstrings here by saying, look, I'm weak, I'm crying like a baby, right? She's doing the whimpering thing, but then she's grabbing on with her paws onto the leg and trying to hold the leg, because what she's trying to do is control the owner. She's trying to dominate the owner right now.
We want this.
She throw herself on the ground. She started, screaming. She started holding the leash. The dog is protesting.
I do want to state that I see that she's still holding that leash pretty tight, and I think that might be why the dog's reacting. It's hard to tell because the camera keeps kind of zooming around, but from the glimpses I'm getting, that leash is still very tight. So she's very likely reacting to the dog's constant pull on the owner's constant pull on the leash. And if she just loosened up just a bit, just gentle, her arm, relax the arm, the dog probably wouldn't react that way.
Next, Cesar wants to see if Gala can control Pasha when a stranger runs by.
You notice that she locked on to this jogger way back. We can't see because there's no camera, but I'm just going to back up. I want you guys to really see how she switched from, she's not where we want her, even back a little bit. She's still kind of at a 3.5. So she's still tense. She's not much into the 3. She's still very tense. And then she sees the jogger, and watch how she locks onto that jogger, and she goes from a 3, or let's say 2.75 right up to 3.5. She's locked on. Now she's scanning, and then she goes right from a 3, 4, and into a 5. Now she's in hunter mode. She actually wants to get this jogger. So I'm going to back it up just a little bit so you can see that.
If Gala can control Pasha when a stranger runs by.
Right there. Okay, so she's locked onto the jogger. Let's just play it. She's locked onto the jogger. Right there. So she went from just there's something, to I can get it. And so if she was at level 2, she would have just went, oh, cool, and just kept walking. But she was scanning already, and as soon as she saw this jogger, she locked right on right away. And so the correction needed to happen way back when she first committed to locking on to this jogger. I mean, I can try and back it up again just to show you where we want it. So right here is where you wanted to do the correction. If she had said right here, knock it off, it would have interrupted the next escalation, and she never would have gotten to that and start looking back to track the jogger. So this is where we want to correct. If we wait until they're already committed, then it's 10 times harder to get them back to a manageable part on the scale.
Right there, correct. You have to correct. At the moment she's seen the guy, you have to correct the brain.
You have to learn to correct.
Unfortunately, that was too late for a correction. I think at that point, Cesar was trying to show her how to do a correction, which is fine, but the correction needed to be done, as I explained a few minutes ago, back there. So doing a correction here, really, it's not serving any purpose.
Correct the dog so he can get a consequence every time he does something that you don't agree with.
Right there.
So up or to the side. Both of them is to create.
So that second correction, he did 1 and 2. We're going to go back.
Or to the side. Both of them is.
So the first correction was, hey, pay attention to me, right? It wasn't really a correction. It was more of a reminder. And then the second correction was when she locked on to the jogger. Very fast. Like, it's amazing how quickly a dog can go from a 2 to a 5. So it's really important that we be just as quick with our correction, that we get it right as it's going to that, 2.25. That's where we want to get it, between the 2 and the 2.25. We don't want to let it get all the way to a 3. We want to correct it right as they're starting to get excited.
So just go over here. Australian Shepherd, 10-year-old. A father, a daughter. Perfect, because she goes after kids and dogs. So we have 2 targets to work with.
I'll hold it for you.
Yes, I don't think that this is a case of you're going to be able to help with both targets. I think she's got 2 triggers. There's two different triggers going on, the child and the dog. They need to pick one of them and work with that. And I think in this case, they work with the dog, which is good, because they've already got their hands full. You shouldn't be trying to do 2 things at once in this situation. You work with the dog and then you work with the child.
She started acting like a crocodile and, start trying to lunge at the other dog and just totally become blind just because the existence of another dog passing by.
You notice how he's trying to tap her with his heel, and he's doing his best to try to get her back down to a 2, but she's already at a 5. Dogs at a level 5, they don't feel correction anymore. You're not communicating. You're not hearing. They're not hearing you. They are 100% in that excited state. They're not going to hear. Food isn't going to work. You could try to give this dog a treat right now. It's not going to work. Nothing works when they're at this point. That's why it's so important to get them at that level 2 and not wait until they get to a level 5.
Sit down.
Your assertive energy has to intensify to match her aggressive energy and not to become nervous, fearful, tense.
This is one of those times where I have to disagree with Cesar. I do not believe that a level 5 human and a level 5 dog is going to do good for anyone. The human needs to remain calm. The human needs to bring that same level of calmness to a level 5 to help the dog reset and get back down to that level 1, level 2 that we want. If the human tries to match that dog's energy by, coming in with that assertive dominant level 5 dominance, you're just going to have a war on your hands. That's all you're going to have. There's no communication. It's like 2 people in the same room screaming in each other's faces. Nothing's going to be accomplished. So it's very important. You need to come in with energy, yes, but you need to come in with the right energy.
Right there. Right there.
This is ridiculous. I'm sorry. I remember when I watched this a few days ago when I saw this. I want to say this very clearly. As handlers, as guardians of our dogs, it's our job to be our dog's advocate. If our dog is, like the case here, having a meltdown or having a hard time, we need to be prepared to step in and protect them. This dog right now could get attacked by any other dog, just a stranger walking by. This owner right here just allowed his dog to walk right over to this dog as she's having a meltdown, and nobody did anything. Nobody stepped in. Don't be afraid to ask for space, to demand space if you need it. So in this situation, as soon as I saw this human starting to approach with their dog, I would have said, "Oh, excuse me, I can't have you approach my dog right now." So yeah, I was so upset when I saw that. I really wish Cesar had said something, but whatever, it didn't happen. But again, he's trying to correct the dog and calm the dog down when it's already at level 5. He would be much better at this point to walk away with the dog, calm it down, and then come back.
Seizing on the moment, Cesar comes up with another idea that could help Pasha.
I asked the owner of the Australian Shepherd if he can please let me walk his dog and Pasha, because it's easier to control when we actually make them walk side by side without eye contact.
I got to stop here. What he's saying is kind of, it is accurate. It's a great way to introduce 2 dogs. Walk them. However, I would not recommend walking these two dogs right now. They're both at level 5. This one is just as excited as this one, only this one's wearing a harness. So, I mean, we've got that against it as well. And this one, we already know, attacks other dogs. So I understand what he's trying to demonstrate is that by walking two dogs, you can help them bond, but you have to have them at a level, 1.5, 2 first. To just take two dogs at level 5 and try to walk them that's just a disaster waiting to happen. So I'm sorry, I don't agree here. I do note that by the time he actually did walk these guys, she had already kind of started to calm down. She wasn't quite at a 2. She was maybe a 3.5, but she was starting to already calm down when the walk started.
And then we have another guy here who is off leash. Oh, there we go. Stay focused, lady. Stay focused, you two. Over here. Don't believe that you're not going to be able.
It's really important that when I'm working with clients, I always tell them, expect the best, but prepare for the worst. So when you're out there walking your dog, always expect that something might happen. Be prepared. That doesn't mean it's going to, but be prepared for it. In this case, you've got a strange dog that's not leashed, that's just wandering around, and you've got a leash reactive dog. So if you panic right now, that's only going to cause that leash reactive dog to lunge and cause the off-leash dog to come in and investigate. So by Cesar just putting his chest out, keeping both his leash dogs controlled, and continuing to walk, he's signaling to these two leash dogs there's nothing to fear, there's nothing to react to. And he keeps them moving, and it's that forward momentum that keeps the dogs going forward. If he had stopped, even for a second to hesitate, that would have caused them to lash out. But because he kept moving, it kept the dogs going forward.
There we go. Right there.
So he keeps correcting her. Again, she's calmed down now. They've been on their walk. So he walked her until she was down to about a 3, which is good. You can tell she's still being quite reactive to this dog. So he's correcting her. Every time she tries to wheel around and confront this dog, he's giving her a correction. So he's trying to show her, listen, I need you to stay at a 2. If you can stay at a 2, even better. If you could go down to a 1, that'd be great. Then and only then will I allow you to meet this other dog. I won't do it until you do that. So I'm just going to keep correcting you. Every time you try to jump up in level, I'm going to give you a correction.
Hey, relax. Doesn't want. Keep it that way. And then my girl here, that's all. I just want her to smell. See, this is submissive mind. That's why I'm allowing her to smell her. She doesn't want to.
So I like that she eventually just decided to lay down. Again, I'm not sure if I agree with this technique. This isn't how I would introduce two dogs for the first time, especially two dogs that have a history of fighting. I guess for TV, that's what they're doing for today. So that's that.
Harm her. She doesn't want to hurt her. She's just curious about her scent.
I like how she just automatically went down to a 1. You can already see just in her, the way she's panting, she's slowed down her panting, she's licking, so she's starting to calm herself down. She's realized that she can't stay. That's the one thing, is that dogs can't stay at that level 5 for very long. They think of it as a pressure cooker. They've got all that pressure, and every time they have one of those explosions, they're releasing a bit of pressure, releasing. And so they just keep doing that until eventually they just can't maintain that anymore. And that's what's happened here. She's just laid down.
You see how the walk is so meaningful for them? And how the walk can create a friendship?
Again, I don't think that the walk really succeeded in this case. I think they did it for TV. With that being said, I do believe that walking two dogs together is the number one best way to bond. Right? So I'm not saying that he's wrong, because he's not. I just don't think this example is a good example of that.
She relaxed, she laid down, she rolled over. She was totally comfortable with the Australian Shepherd. It's your turn.
Just a quick note there. When Sasha was laying down on her side, that is when I would have chosen to take the two of them for a walk. Because she's at her lowest. She's at a nice, calm, level-headed. I can communicate. It's a lot easier for me to keep her from getting to a 2. I can correct that a lot easier than I can to go from, a 5 back down to a 2. So I would have taken her when she was nice and calm. And that's when I would have done it. And then as soon as she started to get excited, I would have gone, hey, knock it off.
Yeah, that hand right there. Because the other hand you're going to use to hold your wife's hands.
They're showing that he's doing a really good job. You know, he's relaxed, he's doing it. But notice how she is still, this is the wife, and here's their other dog, and she's got the other dog way ahead pulling her down the sidewalk. The message that this dog, they're both hearing, is that these two are not in control. They're not the pack leaders. So even though Cesar spent the day with them, working with them, they still didn't get the message that in order to be pack leader, you need to lead your pack. And you can't lead the pack if they're pulling you down the sidewalk.
There you go. This is what I want to see. Doesn't it feel good? I mean, now the whole pack is walking. Bradley did great. You know, and the guy that I was seeing...
I think I'm going to end it there. That's the rest is just fluff at this point, so I'm going to end it at that. I just want to say, I know I corrected Cesar a couple times or came down on him a couple times today. I hope you realize that I do, for the most part, respect everything that Cesar's done for dogs in this world, and I am by no means attacking him or his methods. But that being said, I don't have to agree with every scenario, and I think I've proven that in this episode, where I pointed out a few times that I just didn't sit right with me. In most cases, the methods worked. It was the scenario that I was disagreeing with. So I just wanted to say that. But aside from that, I want to thank you guys so much for your support. Yesterday, I hit 40 subscribers, so that's a huge milestone for me, considering that on December 25th, Christmas Day, I decided to launch this channel. I gave myself the gift of following my dream, which was to create this channel. And I just want to thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to me. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Till later, keep walking those dogs. Bye.